All right, we should be live. Give me a second. Let me check my own thing here. Okay, but are any of you guys logged in to see if I'm streaming live?
Okay, let's see.
I'm gonna check right now. We may be live right now.
It's waiting for you. Let's see. Let me refresh this.
I have another one. I just went live with another thing. Let's see. Yeah, there's a second one. There's 3 waiting. Oh man, yeah, because that's the one I advertised, right? Oh my goodness.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, it is live streaming. Okay, I gotta put in the chat of the other one because something's not working correctly with my live stream, so I had to upload another one.
Refresh this.
I have another one. Yeah. I just went live with another thing.
Okay, yep, you're live.
Yeah, there's another one. I have to. Let me see if I can get rid of the old one right quick in my settings. But we are actually live right now. So while I'm actually taking care of that in the background, right, and actually redirecting people over towards this stream, you guys could maybe introduce yourselves, right? Cool.
Let me turn off my volume. So
I can't. Actually, let's just go live because now it's Let's just shoot. Okay, so what's up, folks? Check it out. We're here for the New York City Third Party Discussion Forum, and we're going to have some candidates on later. Hopefully, we're going to see if they show up. I had contact from the Libertarian Party. They might be here, as well as we've been working with a lot of other candidates, so we'll see what's up. So first, I'm going to let's start from left to right on my screen. Right, first I have Michael Zimbluskis. Go ahead, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Mike Zimbluskis. I've been involved in politics since 1992, the first Ross Perot campaign. I was an independent for a long time. I've helped at least 300 to 400 candidates through my career, and I've run about 10 or 11 times myself. So I know in most of these candidates I help them for free because I'm more interested in getting good people elected than making money. If I wanted to make money, I could have joined the Democrat or Republican Party early in my career and been a political consultant. And most political consultants are rip-off artists anyway, because they take money and they mislead a lot of candidates. Not all of them, but a good number of them, both Democrat and Republican.
That's very relevant. I've been, discussion.
I've like I said, I've been following politics. My first political discussion, believe it or not, I was 8 years old, and I got into a discussion about the Humphrey Nixon race with my Aunt Thelma, my grandmother's sister. And after about 15 minutes, she threw up her hands and said, "Why am I arguing with this 8-year-old?" But she never let me forget it until the day she died.
We have this passion in us for the politics stuff. So really appreciate you. I know you've been a very valuable. I think Corey Edens just asked me to shout you out. She just remembered you. She said she was going to watch today, because large part because you're on today. I know you provided high quality help to the people that I work with, so they remember you, and I appreciate you. Daniel's also someone very high quality, been helped a lot of candidates right here, has been involved on third party scene. Go ahead, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Daniel Mayo. I'm the current president of the Central Queens Republican Club. I have not been involved as long as Mike. Okay, my first run was in 2001, the year of 9/11. At that time, certainly, it was just basically the passion was to serve the community. I mean, the passion is still with me there. But of course, once you get yourself in the process, you're going to learn the reality. The reality is who controls the process. And for you to really reach out to the voters, before you even get there, you sort of had to go through a lot of gauntlets in the political system. And some of those gauntlets would actually predetermine what a result you're going to get. And that's basically it there. To my club, Central Queens Republican Club, we're open to anyone. Anyone who's a come is welcome come. I don't care about your political affiliation. What you want to do is to serve the community, do something that's good. Come to us. We'll guide you. We'll tell you what's happening, what's the reality. And we will do your best to help you get on the ballot, either Republican, even Democrats, or independent.
Okay, I know there's so many other different, my WhatsApp notification just popped up. I'm a member of the Central Queens GOP, and if you join, you actually get access to a WhatsApp group. I encourage everybody to join that group. It's a lot of fun conversations going on in there. Anyways, so look, just to introduce myself, I'm actually do a lot of third-party independent work myself. I'm DGL7, New York City's #1 street activist. Very honored to have our guest here today. So I know there's a lot of rabbit holes I could jump down with Danny right now, but actually I'm going to go back to the conversation we had just as we cut into the live stream. I'm sure the viewers want to know, right? The third party, we know that the New York City stuff is all aflame right now. There's this guy, what's his name again? This new Cuban guy from Cuba, Cuban-born biotech guy. He's actually running Joseph Hernandez. He's running third-party independent because he wants to stop communism. But literally, I could even show you guys Linda Sarsour's page right now on Facebook. She's celebrating, saying, wow, let them split up their vote more. You know what I mean? So as in terms of third-party, effect on the New York City race, right, with all these third-party candidates running, I know you guys have both run third parties and, know about those things. What do you think third parties can do right now in terms of impacting this race right here?
Okay. Well, the thing is, the more candidates that are out there, that means more ideas are out there. See, I actually love the fact that more candidates are running, because that's the problem. If you look at Europe and everywhere else around the world, they have, sometimes 10 candidates running for the same office. When we don't have that done, we have been brainwashed that it's either the Republicans or the Democrats, but especially when you're in a city like New York, it's just the Democrats. Democrats win no matter what. And that's the problem. We concentrate too much on parties and not the candidates themselves and what they are talking about. And, I think this new gentleman in the race will be actually very good. I think he will take down some of Mindami's support, because he understands communism, socialism, because he grew up in it. The other day I had a discussion with my barber, who's a Russian Jew that grew up in communist Russia. And, he was saying the same thing. It's all, and the funny thing is, and what I've been calling Mindami is the silver spoon socialist. And the reason I call him that, he's rich and he grew up rich. He has no clue what you or I have to go through. I put myself through college working 35 to 45 hours washing dishes. And during the summer, I take odd jobs all over the place to make sure I could pay for college. He's never, there was times when 75% of my take-home income was going to pay my rent in New York City. And a lot of you are like that. He's never had that. Anytime he gets in trouble, he just says, Mommy, I need some help. And that's what happens. And the other thing is, if you look at history, almost every single communist or socialist leader all grew up in upper middle to rich brats. Then they take over these countries and they just completely destroyed them. Look at Mao Zedong. He grew up in an upper middle class. He killed millions of people because he had no experience, and he basically took everybody from the factories and threw them into the fields. And then they had mass starvation because those people didn't know how to farm.
So just, sorry to jump in just for a moment,
go ahead.
right?
Good.
But just once again, just focusing once again on the race right there. So you don't think that Joseph Hernandez coming in, because who's really in the lead in this race? Do you have any predictions? Do you think
right now it's Mondami,
right? And do you think that
Mondami's
Adams and Cuomo
runner.
are splitting the vote, or do you think that it should go one way, or do you think a third party could actually? We know the Conservative Party, right? They actually, interestingly enough, I don't know who the Working Families Party supported. There's a fusion parties in New York, which is its own thing, which is a little bit different from third parties elsewhere, right? Has its own little flavor to it, but. We take a look at Irene Estrada, right? For some reason, the Conservative Party is not backing. Would that impact the election? Yes, no. What are the Democrats' Working Families Parties doing? Do you know? Are they doing?
I think they're supporting Mondami.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah, the union, a bunch of unions have backed Mondami. They're idiots because I just retired from city service, and our pensions are in trouble now. Pensions are.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
it's just me or is Michael like frozen?
No problem. Well, let me go ahead, sort of jump into your earlier question about the independent party there. I mean, just the fact that you have a choice, which is critical in any election, whether it is winnable or not. The fact, of course, Joseph Fernandez, I mean, people didn't realize he was in the race until, New York Post and a few other people suddenly wrote about him just last week. Okay? So at least for those people who are dissatisfied with the current choices, whatever the election result will become November 4th, it's nice to know those people, the third party people, is a quantified expression of dissatisfaction.
Okay. Recently, we saw this picture about, I don't know if you heard a story about, I don't know if someone actually passed a New York Post to somebody at, was it even the Chinese event where there was actually a potato bag chip with like a whole bunch of cash inside, stuff like that. The fact of the matter is that the press oftentimes is paid off to carry these stories. Now, Joseph Hernandez may have paid the press to pay, I wouldn't blame him if he did, right? He may have paid the Post to cover that story, but the fact of the matter is that you were involved with the Medical Freedom Party. I know that also Mike may have been involved to an extent as well. And you guys got a whole bunch of candidates on the ballot, more than the Greens and Libertarians. The press should have covered this. They never did at all. And I feel like the press is controlled. I don't think the press is going to allow truly third parties to be covered. So it's strange to me that Joseph is getting covered at all. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I know it's the fact. I've been doing this since, like I said, '92, and I would get no coverage. Then when I bought ads in some of the local papers, then they put an article on me. It's just that way, and some of it's worse than this. A lot of the Hispanic papers and reporters actually take direct payments. I've seen it. Other papers do that too, smaller papers. Yeah, big papers. Why the Post probably covered him because Hernandez bought an ad in the Post.
Completely, am sympathetic to the papers as well. I understand their position, right? Because the thing is that they're competing against the internet. They're competing against social media. There's not as much dollars in it anymore. There's a lot of consolidation going on. So the thing is that they're struggling to make ends meet. So the fact of the matter is that but it's our mistake to trust them. It's our mistake to believe whatever narrative they're pushing. We need to start tapping into local sources, which I'm so excited about. Daniel working with the Central Queens GOP, establishing local control, talking to individual voters, which I know all you guys have done extensively. You've knocked on thousands of doors between the two of you easily, right? Between the three of us. So we're making that direct contact, which the press never covers. Even when we saw the people like to talk about the socialists, right? Even when they win, they took over in Buffalo, right? Or, they upset the party dynamics over there. Or also, I think they did something in Nevada too. The press covered it in a blurb. They never interviewed the people who were actually involved with that on the grassroots groundwork movement. And they just moved on, and they kept the discussion within the celebrities and the pundits. That's why I think we should reject the celebrities and pundits that are put into the third-party space and talk directly with people like yourselves instead of our own independent network. I don't think it can survive any other way. I think this is unfortunately why some of the candidates are not participating in this particular discussion, even though I have historical, talking about third parties. We look at Jim Walden, right? And I think that he's good in a lot of ways. I think he's admirable, but he's picking and choosing based off what he thinks will win, and he's spending his time with media, and he's spending time with celebrity and the names that people know. And I can't blame him for that. So what's our path to victory here as third party, ground workers for decades?
Well, this goes back to one of the things I said earlier. Political consultants are ripoffs. And he's hired a high-priced political consultant that actually doesn't know New York City. And he's ripping off Walden. There's no doubt about it. I remember back in 2001 when Tom Golisano was running for governor. And he hired a lot of these high-priced people Democrats and Republicans from Washington that had no clue, because we actually had a primary in the Independence Party against George Pataki, Governor Pataki, because there was a split in it. The leadership was controlled by Lenora Falani and a few others that were more interested in making money than actually the thing. And I told these political consultants that, no, you're going after this wrong. They were running this as a Democrat or Republican, and they thought they were going to get 25, 30% of the Independence Party people out to vote. I said they were going to get 8 to 10%. They got a little over 8%, and Golisano was going to win 55 to 60% of the vote. They almost cost them because of the way they ran the race. And I also told them to give up the Conservative Party, because he tried to do a write-in on the Conservative Party, and he got destroyed. Because most people in the Conservative Party, the activists and the people come out to vote on the Conservative Party, have jobs through the party. They have patronage jobs. Of course they're not going to vote for Tom Golisano. But you know why they didn't listen to me? I gave the advice for free. Somebody charges them $100,000, they believe them. Even if I've been around forever, and I'm right most of the time on my predictions.
No,
I actually predicted de Blasio winning back in the primary in the election in October before, not October of the election year, of the year before.
It might be the case. I know there's plenty of people who
New York City had enough of Manhattan candidates. Sorry.
Who value
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I know you're, I know you're selling yourself a little bit short. I know you only feel it when you could walk by 100 people, they smile at you, and one slaps you in the face, and you remember that for the whole day, right? So I know, remember the negative experiences, but there's a lot of my people that do believe in you, and actually, so they can't always afford, right? Yeah, they're not necessarily getting those patronage jobs and can cycle the money back.
The insurgent candidates listen to me. It's the big people with money and other things that just don't.
Well, they're in the club, right? That's why they're getting the press, because they're in the club. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anything? What do you think about this, Danny?
I mean, Mike is pretty much on point there. That is part of how the establishment works there. It's not necessarily ideology. It is mainly who benefits. Yeah? They could disagree with you, but hey, if you take a check home at the end of the day, that's what counts. Okay? That's partially why Mamdani's giving up in the poll there. The people are jumping on his bandwagon, not because necessarily they are socialists per se, or they believe in what he's saying, or he believes in wiping out any misdemeanor crimes. It's only because, hey, if Mamdani gets in, I will at least be able to keep my job, or I might even get a new position doing something I may not agree with, but it pays better than what I'm getting.
Okay. So another thing is that third parties, sometimes they get involved with other cases, certain issues they could drive. Is there any potential, right? It seems like to me that the media is pushing the anti-communist, rhetoric, which is fine, right? But also I feel like, to tell you the truth, that there's nothing really distinguishing about the candidates between each other, right? Like Cuomo or this Hernandez guy, or why anybody would vote for one or the other to really put up someone who's going to be a challenger, because I feel like Mamdani is the front runner. So is there any third issue that could help, right? I think third issue should appeal to both sides. Is there any issue that you think that the third parties could be influential on and potentially maybe even throw this race?
It's really kind of hard, as you might have read in your post today. No, Mamdani is going to wipe out all misdemeanor crime records. Okay? So that's the interesting reset. Okay, so you're encouraging criminality. Obviously, for most of the people, I'm sure the vast majority disagree with that, but they're still going to vote for you for some lot.
Well, go ahead, Jen.
No. I mean, that's really the difficulty there. The voters, especially those who are in the system, are basically attracted to power and money, not necessarily who's in charge. Then that's the part we have to overcome there. And the rule still in New York City is, if you're a Democrat, you control the purse string, you control the process. And now people are getting more bolder to say things that are outrageous, and just because they know they're going to get the votes, they get in. Okay, but for now, most of the conservative Republicans, we don't say things that do not really make sense. Okay, but that doesn't get traction. That doesn't get media attention. Okay, and that's a problem.
Well, you can't get media attention as a Republican, or very rarely can you get attention as a Republican or a independent, unless you're wealthy and then they want your money.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Why did Bloomberg get so much attention? It's because he spent billions of dollars on advertising. Mm-hmm. Paul, what was his name? Try to remember the guy that ran on the Republican Party against Nicole. Paul Massey. Paul Massey. Mm-hmm. I warned him a number of times. You're spending too much money. He spent like 85% of his money, and he raised with the money he put in and what he raised was close to $10 million. And he spent like 85% of that on political consultants, which means the political consultants ripped them off.
Yeah.
And I kept on telling him, and they tried to keep me away from Massey because because I said, I don't want to get paid. And part of it is, it's not that I don't like money, but at that time I worked for the city. And if I took money, then I would have to get it approved. It would also limit what I'm saying. But also, but the thing is, I also help candidates all the time. And these political consultants were getting paid so much money that he was having problems raising money. And after, just before the primary, and he dropped out because they stole all his money. Yeah. And this is part of the problem. The other problem is we've brainwashed our constituency that like I said before, not only voting for Democrat or Republican, but we have said that like term limits. I was supported term limits until New York City passed them, and I saw how bad it was for the city. We're always looking for quick fix solutions instead of actually listening to candidates and going out and voting for people. The reason why Mondami is so far ahead, and I said he was going to win the primary about 5 months before, because though I didn't think he was going to win on the first round. I thought he was going to win in the recount, or
right.
As other candidates dropped out, the ranked choice voting. But you look at how many people voted in that, it was like 12% or something like that of the Democrats voted.
Okay.
Which means most Democrats didn't vote for him. That's why he won. He gets the Socialists of America, Democratic Socialists of America know how to get people out. The workers' family people know how to get people out. The working people are more concerned about their lives, and they don't realize these politicians don't give a shit about them.
Okay.
I hope. Well, you won't think it. Sounds kind of bleak for third party since we have so many obstacles before us: the media part, the money part, the recognition. But still, it still gives people that freedom of choice again. Yeah? How to get the third party candidate out in front? It will happen. Okay, it will happen there. Okay. And it could happen once Mamdani wins. Who knows? Then people slowly realize, hey, this is not really what I want New York City to be. So indirectly, I am wishing that Mamdani, if he does win, the voter will come around to become better voters next time around.
Okay.
And that's where independent parties at least come in. It's important there. So at least they'll have choice and know they at least be able to voice their concern. And whoever's going to run next year or next round, the results in the November election will be critical for them to understand what's out there, okay? Who's against it, who are dissatisfied, how much dissatisfaction is there.
Yeah, okay. So one of the kind of players in the game that we're going to talk about locally is a guy called Nunziato, right? I'm not going to say Nunziato is all good or all bad, but the fact of the matter is that there's some kind of like power plays going on, and sometimes, right, no one's perfect. Sometimes we're gonna have disagreements. I know that the what's her name, that boxer Kara Castronova thing didn't go over so well, things like that. And recently, you wrote a letter to the Republican Party leadership, right? And then you actually there's video of you at Board of Elections, right, contesting Curtis Lewa's ballots, right? And what I would say, which is a fair request, because I was on your side on that one, right? I'm not saying I'm probably gonna vote for Sliwa, right? But I'm gonna tell you that honestly, I think you made good sense. And one of the things you mentioned in that letter was that by having third-party candidates run, it actually helps the Republican Party more than the Democrats. That was very interesting to me, right? Can you explain your read on that?
Well, I guess who made that comment?
Maybe I misremembered it, right? Yeah, there's a lot of, but one of the things when I talked to Nunziata, he's like, oh yeah, Daniel will have people that aren't Republicans like able to speak at his club. I'm like, that's better, right? Then we can actually have a discussion and discourse. But because I asked him why he had a problem with you, but he wouldn't really answer. So it doesn't seem like you really want to talk bad about Nunziata either. So I respect that. I'm not here to stir up the beef. I'm just here to say, in terms of the third party stuff, that was a very interesting observation on your behalf, to say that they shouldn't keep trying to knock off third party members. The Republican Party leadership shouldn't keep trying to stop third-party people from running.
Well, let's see. I mean, in the case of Tony Nunziata, the county chairman for Queens, I respect him. He's a good man. His heart is the right place, and he's really doing his best. Okay, and he knows that. Okay, I have really nothing against him. I mean, his actions I may be against, but not himself as a person. Okay, and he knew that. Okay, even before he became the current chairman. Okay? Is what I sort of disagree with is just a direction overall of what the Republican Party is supposed to do. Instead of protecting your own territory, which is basically what Tony's doing, you should look at the longer term of how to grow and win more races, okay, citywide. Okay? But of course, for him, it's not he doesn't want to, just timing and priority. He has to take care of business first. Therefore, the minimum he wants to do is at least his duty as chairman of the Queens County GOP. And the minimum is basically be sure when you submit to your endorsed candidates, you protect them. And protect them, by definition, means anyone who wants to have a primary, he needs to at least minimum do a petition challenge to be sure not putting them off. Now, what was unexpected this year, we sort of knew he was coming 2 years ago, it was the Democrats who was leading the challenge. And we had no playbook against that, other than we'll support you when you take him to court, but we have no preparation for it. Therefore, allow the Republican candidates in Queens that were knocked off the ballot were not prepared for it. They didn't know he was coming. And he was coming with very big ferocity there. I mean, at least 4 of them were knocked off from the Republican line in Queens. That's a lot.
Well, they actually the Democrats went after Republicans all over the city, especially Asian candidates. And the reason why was the Asian community is breaking away from the Democratic Party in large numbers. The Asian community actually gave Curtis 4 years ago a lot of support. He actually won a number of Asian districts. And that's what scared them. Lester Chang winning out in Brooklyn. That's what scared the Democrats. The Democratic Party, in a lot of their issues, do not really sit well with the average Democrat. Because the progressives, I'm not calling them liberal, the progressive Democrats are so far, they're lunatics, basically. Their policies don't work. They've tried them all over the world, and they've all failed. Just look at defund the police. Look at Seattle, San Francisco, and you go on and on. Look at what their downtowns were before they instituted that, and look at what their downtowns are now. They were thriving. Once they defunded the police, now they're basically war zones. They're homeless encampments. Most of their stores are closed. It doesn't work. The city-run supermarkets, St. Louis, Missouri, has failed. They tried it in not St. Louis, sorry, Kansas City, Missouri. They had one, and it lost $900,000. It has almost nothing. It has very little on the shelves. You think New York City, that has so many failed, the New York City government has so many failed programs that they run, and that cost way too much money, that they're going to be able to successfully run. I think he wants to do like 7 or 8 city-run anyway, because they're going to have so much in losses.
You know,
because these are. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's interesting you should mention the Asian American community, because there's actually a lot of interesting things happening in this race, such as Stephen Chan, the very first district, Asian American district in New York State history, flipped from blue to red after just one term. So that it's also a powerful indicator of the the Asian community possibly moving in a certain direction. Mm-hmm. That could be a theme for this race. It doesn't seem to really be being driven very hard or very well. I think that there's a big potential, payoff for the red community. But, once again, it's the establishment's kind of like running the narrative right here. So, before, when we were talking about the Asian community, right? If you look at Zoran, right, he's technically an Asian American, even though some people, I think including himself, would say he's an African American sometimes. But, he's technically an Asian American, but there hasn't really been any type of movement between the Asian American community. And you said they were running before by the Democrats, right? I think that Yang was also trying to be really controlled by the Democrats. I think there's a lot of pushback in my own personal work because of that. They're also trying to, I think the Democrats are doing a better job of trying to take over the third party space. I think they have a lot of the options that people think are alternatives are actually Democrat controlled, like Rise and Resist and all these other organizations.
Well, one of the big things is that one of the problems that a lot of third parties candidates have, and even when I ran on the Republican line, I always have, don't raise enough money. You don't raise enough money, and the media discounts you. Even though I always go back to it, the 2001 public advocates race, where Mike Brown spent $5,000 on his race for public advocate, and he got over 10% of the vote. He actually got more votes than 2 candidates that made matching funds with high-profile names. So you can do it. And this was before the internet was, with all social media and everything else, because this was 2001. 2025 is much different about getting your message out. And one of the things that Mandami is getting is he's getting what I call the educated idiots. Most of them are college grads, recent college grads, and even older college grads that think they know everything, that have no clue of history, no clue of business, and have, especially the younger ones, all they're worried about themselves. They see the rising cost of rents, their student loans, and they want it forgiven and give it to them for free. It's not going to happen. Money doesn't grow on trees, and they don't know that. And how can a person run New York City like Mandami, that basically has a few years of work experience, and that is as the assemblyman?
Can I answer that real quick?
Sure.
All right. So the thing is that I feel like honestly that their team, the DSA, kind of earned it out there, because the thing is that I think what's his name, that guy. You ever seen that guy Pat Bet David? He's got the show Valuetainment, right? I know there's some controversy on him.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. He actually said that what the Republicans did is they didn't pay attention to the newspapers, and they let the Democrats take all control of the newspapers. and then now the press is all against them, and they're like acting like, why, what happened, right? And the same thing happened in the schools, right? You was talking about the educated idiots. The Republicans let the Democrats take all over the schools, write the curriculum, right? Put all the people, and actually students are punished for, talking about the wrong things. And so now what happens is that, they won that community, and now that whole army of those young kids are going out 10,000 strong, getting paid by Democrat money filtered in through not-for-profits and all this other crap. You know what I mean? The government's literally funding them to go out. And actually, my work with Asian American activism is quite strong. And right after that, they imparted $2 million and then I think they upped it to $5 million, right? You have to fund not-for-profits to control. That's what they thought they were going to do with the Asian American new district that they were creating in Chinatown. Whoops, that backfired on them, right?
Yep.
They're trying to control through the seniors and through the youth, and we need to take back control. And honestly, on this side, a lot of people on, here in New York, I talk with them. I say Charlie Kirk. I'm not saying he's all bad, but his whole shtick is to like insult students and call them stupid. You know what I mean? And that'll appeal to some of them, but really, we need to do a better job of talking to the youth and getting them on our side.
I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm just saying they've been lied to. No. Even though I call them educated idiots, what I'm trying to say is
they're arrogant too. I hate it
because they've been misinformed. They don't understand history. They don't understand economics. Their professors were lied to them over and over. I would never be able to get through college nowadays. I fought with professors almost at least 2 or 3 times a week on many things that I thought they were wrong on. Some of them took it well, some of them didn't. But nowadays, I would have been thrown out of school because and this was as an independent, not as a Republican. I only joined the Republican Party because Como killed the Independence Party. And I also joined the Republican Party to help Curtis 4 years ago. But the whole thing is, like I said, they say, Bernie Sanders and AOC have been lying about Scandinavia for so long. They say they're social democrats. Do you realize they have 100% voucher system in their schools? 100%.
Hey, so I'm sorry.
There's no way the Democratic Party would do that. Do you also know that their social services, about 60 to 70% of it is run by private corporations, not nonprofits, private corporations, because Sweden tried socialism in the late 70s, early 80s, and they almost collapsed. So they went away from that.
The socialism thing, I'm not mad at that, right? I'm not sure how many people I honestly don't know what socialism or communism is because I never really truly experienced it. So I can't really have it. I'm just annoyed by all the communist leaders that refuse to have any discussion with me or actually help poor people. That's what's annoying to me. But other than that, really, I don't really know or understand. But what I do know is that talking to the electorate, knocking on doors, and I know that one powerful group that we talk with, I know she attends your meetings, Danny, with Moms for Liberty, right? Yeah, and moms, and actually talking about children's education. I think that's a real winner for for us to talk to our communities, right? Michael, I know you're in Manhattan, right? We're in Queens right now. We could really talk to our people, even if the press doesn't cover us. We can get our message through the newsletters and affect the electorate and actually make a real difference in this election. Maybe those moms will know about communism, maybe they won't. But what issues can we really address, right, locally, that the consultants can't know about? How can we attain power for the grassroots? And we have a credibility that they don't. We knock on doors that they're knocking on. They're getting those kids to knock on those doors. They're paying like $20 an hour. I've seen armies of them. We cannot win against that.
Go ahead.
I'm saying never say never. It's happened before. And because of social media, we can get messages out a lot quicker. I was at last year, there's a Jewish hotel down in the Village, in Alphabet City, rather. And the Antifa was out there protesting in front of it because the owner's son fought in the IDF. I went down there with a couple of my people when I was running for Congress to confront them. And they were using TikTok videos, 8 seconds to 10-second TikTok videos, to say this guy was no good. I'm going like, how can you judge anything on a TikTok video? One of them was just somebody firing an M60 machine gun. You don't know what happened, where they were firing. And I'm going like, I fired that when I was in the Army. I fired just as many bullets, if not more. But you can't tell what was going on. You can't judge anything. You need to see at least 5 to 10 minutes before and after to understand what's going on. But these people are just, and we need to counter that and start putting our own TikToks out, getting stuff that do more, memes. That's one of the reasons why Trump won in 2016, because the memes took off.
Okay, so let's maybe if Dan, well, I'll just ask this question right now for both of you guys, right? So maybe there's a chance to go watch this. Who knows, right? Yeah. And the thing is that with all your political experience, stuff like that, maybe you have a particular idea for him, or because if we take a look at New York City has actually had Republican mayors like Giuliani, Bloomberg, right? Bloomberg was a Republican at one point, supposedly. Or maybe it's a third-party candidate, right? New York City has actually had a third-party candidate win, I think, back in the 60s or 70s.
Lindsay went on the liberal line.
But I think that's a long time, like all the things that have happened in the meantime with the Board of Elections, ties to party leadership, all this other stuff, the press control. I think it's a much different game now. So I think that it's unrealistic to expect it now, but I think that somebody said that the Republicans are kind of like a de facto resistance group in New York City since the Democrats have so much control of New York City. But sometimes their control is slipped. What do you think would be, what do you think allowed those things to slip for Giuliani or for, other Republican mayoral candidates?
Albany legislature. Albany legislature don't forget the rights of these laws there. Every time they see Republicans winning somewhere, they're going to put out some laws to make it harder for Republicans to win. I mean, previously, you might remember the Independence Party, right? And the Independence Party tend to side with Republicans, and it could have given certain candidates, like Vicky Palladino, okay, that was the last year Independence Party was allowed, the win, because she was under the Independence Party. She won by, I think, 40 or 50 some votes, but that was because of the Independence Party line. Well, guess what? Albany made that, outlawed it, okay? And when, of course, there's fusion parties, you could run on multiple party lines, but Albany decided not so for independent parties. You could run as many party lines as you want. You only put one on the ballot. I'm sure you heard about Mayor Eric Adams. He submitted a petition for 2 party lines, and anti-Semitism and safe and affordable. And guess what? The Board of Elections says, no, both qualified, but you can only put one name on the ballot. Okay? And not only him, we also have another candidate running against Eric Botchard in Manhattan, to City Council 3. He submitted 2 petitions, one called Blue Collar, another one was hoping to coattail Cuomo, okay, under Fight and Deliver. Well, he got the same letter from the Board of Elections. Pick one or the other. So even though he qualified for both. Another example, I'll throw myself out there. This year, I submitted 13 independent petitions, okay? Because I want to get as many people on there as possible. Unfortunately, the Republican Party knocked me off all of them. But had I been able to submit all 13 and qualify, the Republican Party doesn't even do anything. Because technically, all of them, even though I qualified for most of them, cannot be on the ballot. I had to pick one. It's Albany who's doing this. So for a independent party candidate to get in there, the biggest obstacle are all these rules that Albany has set. Another one, which is a very high hurdle for independent parties, before, and that was under Cuomo who did this, he increased the signature threshold by 50%. What used to be 1,000 now requires 1,500. What used to be 2,000 now is 3,000. And if you want to run for governor, what used to be, I believe, 25 or 35,000, and now it's 50,000.
No, it's actually 15,000. Now it's 45.
Okay, so you see, you tripled it.
He tripled it. Yep.
Okay.
And also, and the other thing is, see, I'm just turned 65 last month, but I'm still an optimist. We can do this. We can't just blame everything. Yes, they put obstacles in front of us. One of the reasons why Giuliani won was because of the issues and what happened at the time. And because you had the Crown Heights incident and, Dinkins mishandled it, at that point in time, people forget. There was over 2,000 murders a year in New York City. 2,000. That's why we need to go back to the seniors and say, hey, you lived in New York City back in the late 80s, early 90s, when, crime was through the roof. You elected a Republican and he cleaned up the city. Bloomberg not only cleaned up the city, he increased the economic output of the city. It took 8 years of de Blasio to start sinking that the other way. In 4 years of Adams to continue that decline. That's what you need to go.
Who got all the contracts for the senior homes?
Exactly.
Democrat Party leadership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you go to the senior homes, you can have people start going and talking to them. Target them. Target the people that lived through the chaos of the 80s and 70s, 80s, and 90s, and say, hey, the media has demonized the Republican Party, but the Republican Party is the one that straightened out New York City. Look what Trump has done in Washington, D.C. over the last week. 0 murders in Washington, D.C. Crime is down. You have the residents of D.C., not the talking heads, not the politicians, are thanking Trump for cleaning it up. Just like you had people in New York City, in almost every neighborhood, thanking Giuliani. Now, Giuliani, to me, went too far in a number of ways, but that had nothing to do with the crime. Now, Bloomberg went too far with stop and frisk because he was using metrics. But the thing is, he continued it in New York City, went from, a city in decline to a city to an ascending city again. Now we're on decline again. And it's because of the leadership. And we have to sell that to the population. Open your eyes and stop thinking with emotion and look at what the policies these politicians have instituted and are wanting to do, and none of it's going to help you.
Okay. I have another question.
None of it's going to help you.
I have another question for you guys, like just in third party stuff, because I know you've been deep in it and been in parts of multiple parties. Now, a lot of times I find that third party stuff is engaged in just as much dishonest behavior, theft, abuse, even sexual abuse, right? Yeah, going on as the major two parties. Except for they just have a lot less money and they're just a lot less big, but they're just, I've seen the same levels of incompetence and greed and theft and corruption. How about you? Do you feel like third parties? I did agree with you. So I think someone earlier said like more voices, which I think is important to make sure that more things are discussed. But a lot of times I've seen a lot of problems with third parties as well that just don't get acknowledged because they're different.
Well, that's actually a very simple answer. Unfortunately, third parties in New York State now with the signature threshold so much higher, triple for governor, they cannot get ballot access anymore. So, in other words, they're going to disappear. It's going to be a 1 year pony trick. Okay? They do something, they may be bad, but they got to regroup again the following year or the following 2 years. So, unlike the institutionalized established parties, that unfortunately, the corruption, the bad attitude, the power grab is going to be staying with us much longer than the Independence Party. So it's less of a problem for the Independence Party just because of ballot access.
Well, like from 92 until 4 years ago, I was in the Independence Party. I helped nationally Reform Party. I helped a number of third parties around the country and in the state. And the problem is, wherever there's power or perceived power, you're going to have bad actors try to gain that power and gain the system. Most of the time, what happens is in these third parties, you have new people coming in to try to start these parties, and they want to change the system. But the problem is they don't learn the system, because once you reach a certain threshold, then you have to follow the laws of the state. And it doesn't matter whether it's New York State or any other state. And what happens is so few people actually learn the laws. I learned this back in the early 90s. And that's why, I've actually trained 3 election attorneys, or helped train 3 election attorneys. And because I learned the law, because you need to know what you're up against to fight it and what laws you actually have to change. We also have to educate, and we need to get to the younger people and say, hey, teach them again about George Washington in his farewell address. Beware of parties, they will destroy the country. And he's right. The parties got too much control, and once they have control, they don't want to let it go. And the problem is we have an uneducated population about voting. Everybody says it's a right. It's not a right. It's your responsibility. If you have bad politicians, you don't like what's going on, it's up to every voter to get out there and actually vote. We have such a low voter turnout, especially in this city, that if we get 1/3 to 40% more voter turnout, we win the elections. That's how bad it is.
I'm sorry, I just want to squeeze in one more question. I know we're running low on time right here. I don't know if the can's going to show up. We're going to see. Yeah, but quick question is, the thing is that we know that in order to qualify for the ballot, they want to get like 5% of the votes for then they could assure themselves, right? Like the Conservative Party, if they got 5% of people for the governor election, then they can assure themselves on the next ballot. Correct?
It's 135,000 votes now.
Something like that, right? So the thing is that by the Conservative Party, if they had endorsed Curtis Sliwa, they might have had an easier time getting more votes. They decided to branch off. Maybe they'll get more votes by going separate. I don't know. But it's
only in governor and presidential statewide election that counts. In a city election, he could get 50% of the vote, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't assure your party.
Yeah, I have forgotten the exact rule, but I know it was like if you're an up there candidate, then it has some effect. So I thought it might have some effect, but I was wondering if there's any. Okay, interesting. Any thoughts on the Conservative Party not going with Sliwa?
Well, I know why they didn't go with Sliwa, because they're, first of all, he's pro-choice, and they have a problem with that.
Okay.
And even though they did endorse me 1 year, and I'm pro-choice, but only to the second trimester. But and the Conservative Party could be, I like a lot of people in the Conservative Party, but they are very sometimes short-sighted. Even the Republicans are short-sighted. Matter of fact, the Democrats are short-sighted by continuing to go with the progressives. Things continue to get worse, but they continue voting the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And that's the foolish thing about it. And yeah, could the conservative, to me, the conservative party line for Kurt is a mixed blessing.
Okay, I
Because
also want to ask another question about one more thing.
Go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry. I just want to just get all these questions before it's time up. Yeah. So RCV, right? Ranked choice voting was supposed to be a big saver for third parties. It was supposed to be something that would help third parties get their ideas across, things like that. I did a little bit of studying on RCV's polls. RCV supports polarized candidates. I don't really believe that. I also had a discussion with the former Manhattan chair of the Democrats. I think his name is Ben Yee, who was on my channel, and he said that studies have shown that it has a more homogenizing effect, where all the candidates kind of look like and sound like each other, which is what I've found. I found RCV to be kind of stifling instead of to be freeing. How do you think RCV has impacted the third-party candidates, if or anything?
Not at all. Because,
Not at all. Zero.
No, zero. Okay.
and that's because it's not in the general election. It's only in the primaries. So a third party candidate can't run in the primary.
Yeah, I felt like it was I felt like
so
it's a
that's the
false
problem.
solution. It's like if people are sold this, like this is going to solve your problems. No, it's actually getting involved personally and getting, running for office and stuff like that. That's going to solve problems, not, RCV or whatever magic pill they're selling now.
Well, that's what I said earlier. It's a quick fix solution that has no effect, and actually has more of a detrimental effect. One of the reasons I'm against term limits is because most other politicians are cowards. So if you have a incumbent and he's in the first term, unless they mess up tremendously, you're not going to have serious challenges to them. They're going to wait the extra 4 years and then run during an open primary, which means that stifles ideas in discussion, because you don't have candidates running against most incumbents, and the ones you do not get the press attention or raise the money, and that's part of the problem. And the other problem is we have a media that is so biased they won't cover things. I've run many times, and I remember New York One will never put me on. Last time New York One had me on was in the mid 2000s. It was me and Fulani. Even though I get more votes on the Upper East Side against Democrats in Manhattan than most, even though I lose, and they still won't cover me. Yet they'll put on a Democratic district leader from some district around.
I know more. Thing. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's why I do what I do exactly. That's exactly why I do what I do.
I guess since you're running a long time, let me at least give you my 2 cents on RCV, the ranked choice voting.
Thank you.
I'll just come right out. Mamdani won because of RCV, period. If you remember why ranked choice voting came about, it's just to avoid the runoff concept. Okay? In the past, the top 2 vote getter will have a runoff, and just to avoid that cost. Well, look at the results. Cuomo had more votes than Mamdani. He was in the RCV calculation. He won.
No, actually, Mamdani won outright. That's what surprised me.
No, but that's what I mean. The top 2. Okay. If we have a runoff, I'm sure Cuomo will win.
There's a lot of
that's possible.
Yeah. I understand what you guys are saying, right? Within the RCV, he did get.
But Cuomo's a failed politician too. Cuomo is responsible for what's going on in New York City. He's responsible for no bail. He's responsible for the crime. He's responsible for shutting down the city during COVID when it was unnecessary. He was responsible for killing thousands and thousands of seniors. So I'm not sure he might have won that runoff. I have a lot of Democratic friends that will not vote for him no matter what, because of what he did sending seniors back to the senior homes.
Yeah. Okay. I guess our time's up. Yeah,
it's pretty good. All right, thanks a lot. So I'll try to see if the other candidates are here. If they do show up, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I think that some of them, like the Conservative Party, they're in their own war. I don't know if you saw any of the footage of what happened at Muramoto's office, where Ram and actually other people started showing up and cause. The Conservative Party is like, I think, has their own internal war going on right now. The Brooklyn Libertarian Party chair and the candidate was supposed to be here, but there's also things going on with the Nationals Libertarians that may be causing other friction and other things to be breaking
That
off.
happens.
So we'll see.
That happens all the
It
time.
might not be. It might not be at all, right? It might be. Who knows? What's
No
going
problem.
on.
I guess I'm going to sign off then. Okay.
Thanks again, folks. God bless. All right. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you, everybody.